Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, Your Honor.
Are we waiting for anybody else? I think everybody's here. I think so. I think we can start. Mr. Court Reporter, can we go on the record, please?
We're good. We're on the record.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Today is September the 15th, 2021. It's about 11:30 a.m. We're here today in the continuing matter of the application of Columbia Gas of Maryland for authority to increase its rates and charges before the Maryland Public Service Commission, case number 9664. My name is Christine Burke. I'm the Public Utility Law Judge assigned to this case. Also present today, if we could have appearances of counsel for the company.
Good morning, Your Honor and parties. Megan Moore on behalf of Columbia Gas of Maryland.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. It's Amy Harakis on behalf of Columbia Gas of Maryland.
Morning.
Your Honor, I also just want to note that Carvel Collins will be joining us. He did let me know that he was having some technical difficulties this morning. So while we are ready to begin, but just letting you know that he will be trying to join us. So thank you.
Thank you. For OPC.
Good morning, Your Honor. Joe Cleaver, on behalf of OPC. I'm here joined by Daria Pugh on behalf of OPC.
Good morning. And for staff.
Morning, Your Honor. Annette Garofalo on behalf of Commission staff.
Good morning. And is anyone else here for staff? I see Ms. McErlane.
Your Honor, Kenneth Albert as well on behalf of staff.
Good morning.
Let me check with Ms. McElwain.
I think I see her. I just don't know if she can hear us. Or maybe she's muted.
I'm having some technical difficulties.
I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just let me know if I can.
Thank you.
You want to note your appearance?
Oh, sorry. Yes, thank
okay.
you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Catherine McErlane on behalf of Staff Counsel for the Maryland Public Service Commission.
Good morning. And I see Mr. Collins has joined us as well.
Yes, my apologies, Your Honor. Having a little technical issue with my video. I am here on behalf of Columbia Gas of Maryland, Carvel Collins. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Before we begin with the continuation of Columbia's testimony today, is there any preliminary matters that need to be addressed? Okay, seeing none. If the company would like to call, actually, I believe there was a stipulation that we ended yesterday for Mr. Bikianga's testimony to be entered.
Yes, Your Honor. And if I may, in connection with yesterday's discussion, Mr. Bikienga filed just direct testimony in the case. So it is just that testimony. There are 11 pages. It was dated May 14th of 2021. No attachments, no supplements, and no other testimony. I would ask that Mr. Bikienga's testimony be marked as Columbia Hearing Exhibit 14.
Marked.
And if there are no objections, I would ask that Columbia Hearing Exhibit 14 be admitted into the record.
And I don't believe there was any objection to that yesterday. I don't believe anybody's position has changed today, so we will admit that as Columbia Hearing Exhibit 14 and enter into the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I believe that leaves us with one remaining company witness, Mr. Hendricks, and I'm going to let my co-counsel, Ms. Moore, work with Mr. Hendricks.
Good morning, Mr. Hendricks. I think you're muted. Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Could you just spell and state your name for the record?
My name is John Hendricks, John Hendricks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Hendricks.
Good morning.
Also for the record, can you please state your employer and your title?
Yeah, my employer is Northern Indiana Public Service Company. It's a company under the NiSource umbrella based in Indiana. My title is Principal Engineer.
Thank you. And Mr. Hendricks, do you have before you your rebuttal testimony dated August 16th, 2020, as well as attachment JH1R and attachment JH2R?
Yes, I do.
And was this testimony prepared by you or under your direct supervision?
Yes, it was.
Do you have any changes, corrections, or updates to it?
No, I do not. Oh, yes, I do actually. On page 1 of my rebuttal testimony, line 3, the state should be Indiana. It's currently shown as Illinois. That's the only change I have.
Thank you. And with that change, if you were giving the same testimony today, would your testimony be the same as when it was originally filed?
Yes, it would.
Your Honor, I would ask that the rebuttal testimony of Mr. Hendricks, along with attachments JH1R and JH2R, be marked as Columbia Hearing Exhibit 15.
So marked.
And Your Honor, if there are no objections, I would ask that Columbia Hearing Exhibit 15 be moved into the record.
Is there any objection?
No objection from OPC, Your Honor.
No objection from staff, Your Honor.
Okay. Rebuttal testimony of Mr. Hendricks and attachments will be entered into the record as Columbia Hearing Exhibit 15.
Thank you. And Your Honor, the company has no live rejoinder. And at this time, Mr. Hendricks is available for cross-examination and/or questions from Your Honor.
Thank you. OPC, do you have any questions for Mr. Hendricks?
No questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Staff?
Yes, Your Honor. Staff has cross for Mr. Hendricks.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Hendricks. Catherine McErlane on behalf of staff.
Good morning.
Do any of NiSource companies have gas quality standards?
Yes, all of the NiSource companies have gas quality standards.
How do they compare with the standards being introduced in this case?
They are very much the same. In fact, we just recently updated our gas quality standard as of September 1st, and it is a duplicate of what was presented in this case.
Might Maryland treat our gas standards differently?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. Might we treat our gas standards differently in Maryland?
I would not see any reason to treat the gas standard differently in Maryland.
Might we treat our gas systems differently in Maryland?
We should not treat our gas systems differently in Maryland or any of the other states.
You suggest that the renewable natural gas quality standards in this case should follow the FERC Regulatory Commission policy statement on natural interchangeability filed in docket number PL 04-3000, correct?
Yes, the gas should be interchangeable with natural gas.
And those guidelines were issued by FERC in the year 2006, correct?
I'm not aware of that, what year they were released.
Okay, and is it your understanding that the gas quality standards and interchangeability standards have not evolved since the year that those standards were released by FERC?
I would say as it pertains to renewable natural gas, they have evolved quite a bit. As of 2019, when the Northeast Gas Association paper came out, and gotten more detailed as far as constituents that are within the gas.
Okay. And the FERC policy statement governing natural gas quality and interchangeability proposes interim guidelines recommending a process for applying scientific principles to individual markets, but does not address the specifics of individual pipeline circumstances or tariff provisions. And the interim guidelines suggest that additional research and development is needed to arrive at a more clearly defined limits to interchangeability specifications. Pardon me, correct?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So is it your contention that the FERC Commission does not recognize regional variations and differing local needs, and that is policy is inflexible generic policy on gas quality and interchangeability?
Your Honor, I just want to object and just ask Ms. McErlane to ask one question at a time, please.
Yeah, I agree that that was a compound question.
Thank
If you
you.
could just break that up.
Okay. So is it your contention that the FERC Commission does not recognize regional variation and differing local needs?
I would agree with that.
Okay, and on page 4, lines 6 through 10 of your rebuttal testimony, you state that you agree with witness Acosta's recommendation on page 40 of his direct testimony that the Commission take the same approach as described in the FERC policy statement on natural gas interchangeability, correct?
Page 4.
Yes, lines 6 through 10
Okay.
of your rebuttal testimony.
Mhm.
I'll repeat the question. You state that you agree with witness Acosta's recommendation on page 40 of his direct testimony that the Commission take the same approach as described in the FERC policy statement on natural gas interchangeability, correct?
Yes, I do.
And the parties here did not engage in a fact-intensive exercise analyzing Columbia's pipeline configuration, geographic location of the system, access to processing facilities, gas flow temperature and pressure, and average ambient and ground temperature in Maryland when arriving at the proposed gas quality specifications in this tariff, correct?
I believe the gas quality specifications are independent of those things.
So you don't think those things should be taken into account when proposing a renewable gas quality standard?
Maintenance agreement, distance away from the pipeline really has nothing to do with the gas quality that you're putting in. Gas quality is the same no matter where you put it into the system at.
Okay, but average ambient and ground temperatures in Maryland shouldn't be considered?
You can give a general temperature limit, a minimum that you want to accept into your system, independent of where that's being placed into the system. And those can be worked out on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, agreed. A case-by-case basis is a good way to work those out. And staff used the NGA GTI interconnection guide to evaluate BG&E's renewable natural gas tariff that was approved at the Commission's administrative hearing in August 25th, 2021, correct?
Yes.
And there are differences in the company's proposed new renewable gas quality standards proposed here than the NGA GTI interconnection standards, correct?
Yes, there are.
Okay, thank you. Staff has no further questions.
Any redirect from the company?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Hendricks, can you tell us some of the reasons why our proposed gas quality standards might differ from the document Ms. McElwain just referenced?
Absolutely. Prior to 2019, when the Northeast Gas Association guidelines came out, we really didn't have a whole lot to go on for RNG across the country, across the world, really. So we started looking at what kind of constituents we would want to have in our gas. And when that any gas association document came out, we were very happy that they were looking at all the gas constituents as well. And so we used the Northeast Gas Association document as the baseline for our constituents of concern and our gas quality standard. One thing we did do is that and as Mr. Acosta pointed out, we did look at the WAB number, and we went even more conservative on that to 1287, where the guideline allows you to go to 1270, which is less conservative. And the reason why we did that was because if they have to purify the RNG more so to a higher degree of methane, then which would be indicative of the 1287 WAB number as opposed to a 1270, you're going to get rid of a lot of those harmful constituents that will be in the gas stream. So we actually went more conservative than the Northeast Gas Association in that respect with the WAB number. Now, with the halocarbons, we went a little bit less conservative at 3 because the Northeast Gas Association set their number based on existing halocarbons in existing geologic natural gas. Well, the halocarbon level in existing natural gas, there's not going to be any chlorine basically in geologic natural gas. So that number will be extremely low. And we did a complete literature search for tests that have been done on the gas as how the chlorine would affect equipment. And we couldn't find any, but we did have a lot of historical information with a current RNG supplier we had in Ohio. And that supplier was always running less than 3 ppms of halocarbons. So we continued our literature search. We went around the world. Some countries allow 25, some countries 10, some countries don't allow any, where the Northeast Gas Association said 0.1 because that's what's in natural gas. Well, since we only had our own history to go on, we then looked at the SoCal Gas in California, their Rule 30, and they allowed, they kind of have trigger levels for it, where if it hits a low level, they do a little bit of testing. If it hits a trigger level, they have to test every month. So we used our history of our gas in Ohio of chlorine ions and the SoCal Gas Rule 30 trigger level, and that's how we set our 3 ppm level. Now, with our very conservative WAP number of 1287 that an RNG supplier has to hit, we don't expect to see even up to the 3 level. In fact, our gas in Ohio was less than 3. And if it does get above 3, then we do start monitoring more items or more frequently in a lab setting for that gas. So 3 is our cutoff, but we would monitor more because the only way you can test for halocarbons is in a lab. But we can test the WAB number online as the gas is being produced. So if we're above our WAB number, we're pretty confident we're below our halocarbon number. So those are some of the main differences that we have within our standard and the Northeast Gas Association standard. Megan, you're muted if you were talking.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Hendricks, and Your Honor, nothing further from us.
I don't have any other questions for Mr. Hendricks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I just wanted to make sure it would be okay to excuse Mr. Hendricks at this time.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe, does that conclude witnesses for Columbia?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And today we'll start with staff's witnesses. Staff ready to proceed?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Staff would call Carlos Acosta to the stand.
Good morning, Mr. Acosta. Could you please raise your right hand?
Good morning, Your Honor.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you could just state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Carlos Acosta, Carlosacosta.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Morning, Mr. Acosta.
Good morning, Ms. Garofalo.
Could you state your business address for the record?
6 St. Paul Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202.
Now, do you have with you a document entitled Direct Testimony and Exhibits of Carlos Acosta that was pre-filed in this case on July 26, 2021?
Yes, I do.
And do you have with you a second document entitled Surrebuttal Testimony of Carlos Acosta that was also pre-filed in this case?
Yes, I do.
Were each of these documents prepared by you or under your supervision?
Yes.
Do you have any changes or updates that you would like to make to either document at this time?
No.
If you were asked the same questions contained in either or both documents, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
And do you adopt your direct and surrebuttal testimony as your sworn testimony for purposes of this case?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask that the direct testimony and exhibits of Carlos Acosta be marked as Staff Exhibit 2.
So marked.
And that the surrebuttal testimony of Mr. Acosta be marked as Staff. I'm sorry, did I say Exhibit 2? I meant Exhibit 1. So let me correct that. His direct testimony, I would like to be marked as Staff Exhibit 1. And his surrebuttal testimony be marked as Staff Exhibit 2.
Both are marked.
And I would ask that these documents be admitted into evidence.
Is there any objection to staff's Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2?
No, Your Honor.
The witness is available for cross-examination.
And I didn't hear whether there was an objection from
Oh, sorry.
the company. No, thank you. For the record, the staff's Exhibit 1 and 2 will be entered into the record. OPC, do you have questions for Mr. Acosta? I'm sorry, the company. Do you have questions for Mr. Acosta?
No, Your Honor.
OPC?
No. Good morning, Mr. Acosta. No questions for you today. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Thank you.
I did have one question, Mr. Acosta. The part that you had in your direct testimony on page 38 and page 30, that went on to page 38 and 39, that gave a comparison of Columbia's proposed RNG standards with the NGA GTI minimum standards. Mr. Hendricks just testified as to two conditions that were Columbia's were not as conservative as the NGA GTI minimum standard. Were there other areas besides the two areas, I believe you heard his testimony, that he was discussing?
Yes, there is so many other differences For example, in the first line is the heat content is different. Down in the total sulfur content is different. The NGA GTI standard said 1, the company said 20, for example. Further down, we have the nitrogen content is different. The oxygen content is different also. So there is so many other things that they are not the same, like the standards with the NGA GTI.
Okay. And is there a process that the commission staff has developed or done before to do the comparisons for RNG standards?
In the BG&E case, they were based in these standards. There were some exceptions when they approved these standards, but it was different things that this company has in contrast to BG&E. So our suggest is that the standard should be adopted in case by case with different other companies. In this case, with the Colombia Gas, I think that it could be beneficial for everyone that we just focus in a different procedure for this item, which is the RNG.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does the company have any questions in light of my questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, staff,
No, Your Honor.
OPC?
Your Honor,
No, Your Honor.
I would just like to ask Mr. Acosta if he is, by his answer, he is saying that the commission has a process, but it has not been fully implemented.
What I said is that we adopt as a staff these standards to be a base for different companies to follow the standard for the RNG gas. There was a process, or there was a case that BG&E filed, and the commission approved with certain modifications for this, but it is for specific BG&E. So what we are trying to say is this should be addressed in case by case for these different companies if they have any deviations from the standard for the NGA GTI.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
All right, thank you.
May the witness be excused?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The staff would next call Felix Patterson to the stand.
Good morning, Mr. Patterson.
Good morning.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir. If you could just say and spell your name for the record.
My name is Felix Patterson, Felix Patterson.
Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Patterson.
Good morning.
Mr. Patterson, could you state your business address for the record?
Yes, my business address is 6 St. Paul Street, Baltimore, Maryland, zip code 21202.
Mr. Patterson, do you have with you two documents? One is entitled Direct Testimony of Felix L. Patterson, dated July 26, 2021, consisting of 31 pages of text and separate exhibits, and a document entitled Rebuttal Testimony of Felix Patterson, consisting of 8 pages of text and separate exhibits.
Yes, I do.
Now, were both of these documents prepared by you or under your supervision?
Yes, they were.
And do you have any changes or corrections you would like to make to either document today?
Based on the information that provided us at the time the document was filed, no, I do not.
There have been a number of corrections and changes to exhibits provided by other witnesses in this case that could affect your testimony. And can you tell people what your plan is to handle those?
We've taken those under consideration. The document pre-filed, there was revised survey rebuttal filed last Friday, and there's another document that was filed with the commission yesterday morning, Tuesday morning. We're going to take those documents into consideration after the 20th, when the company updates its exhibits for its rate case expenses.
So your testimony is that on the dates these were filed, these were the accurate numbers, correct?
That is correct.
Do you adopt your direct testimony and your rebuttal testimony as your sworn testimony for purposes of this case?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor, I would ask that Mr. Patterson's direct testimony be marked as Staff Exhibit 3, and his rebuttal testimony be marked for identification as Staff Exhibit 4.
So marked.
And I would ask that these both exhibits, Staff Exhibit 3 and Staff Exhibit 4, be admitted into evidence.
Is there any objection to the admissions of Staffs Exhibit 3 and 4 from the company?
No objection, Your Honor.
OPC?
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. Staffs Exhibit 3 and 4, direct and rebuttal testimony of Felix Patterson will be entered into the record.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is there cross-examination?
The witness is available for cross-examination.
Is there cross-examination for Mr. Patterson from the company?
No questions, Your Honor.
OPC, do you have questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, barely, Mr. Patterson. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you, sir?
Fine. Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Mr. Patterson, I'd like to ask you a couple questions about your adjustment to incentive compensation. If you could turn to page 16 of your direct testimony. And let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
Okay, here at the top, Mr. Patterson, of page 16, you're asked to describe Columbia's adjustment to incentive compensation. I'm here at line 2. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And you state here that Columbia included in its proposed test year O&M expenses the NiSource corporate service company allocated costs for short-term incentive and long-term incentive compensation. Did I read that correctly?
That's correct.
And continuing on, you're asked, do you agree with the amount of the expense for this category proposed by Columbia? And you answer, the commission has historically removed this type of compensation from the cost of service when the goals are tied to achieving financial success. You see that?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And I go down a little more. Now I'm on line 10. And you state there that after reviewing Columbia's responses to staff's data requests 3.7 and 3.9, staff determined that 82% of the LTI allocated to CMD by NCSC relates to achieving financial goals and recommends that this portion of the LTI be removed from the cost of service. Do that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. And your adjustment on this particular issue is FLP 13, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, in your adjustment, you only removed the costs of long-term incentive compensation related to the company's financial goals, correct?
That's correct.
You didn't make an adjustment to the short-term incentive compensation related to the company's financial goals, correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Patterson, I would like to ask you if you could take a look at what has been pre-marked as OPC Exhibit 15.
Okay, I see it.
Okay. And this is one of the data responses that you expressly referred to in your testimony in the excerpt that I just read, right?
That is correct.
And in the first paragraph there of the response, it indicates that for 2020, the portion of expense related to operational goals is 16% and financial is 85%. For 2021, the portion of expense related to operational goals is 30% and financial goals is 70%. You've seen this before, correct?
That's correct.
And were you aware that on Monday, at the Monday portion of this evidentiary hearing, that Columbia witness Kimberly Cartella confirmed that these percentages that are provided here in this first paragraph are applicable to short-term incentive compensation? Were you aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah, and just for the record, to be clear, Ms. Cartella revised one of these numbers for 2020. The financial goal percentage she said should have actually said 84%. So just for the record. Mr. Patterson, in the past, with respect to incentive compensation and the portion of it that's related to financial goals, staff has advocated for removal of that expense with respect to short-term and long-term incentive compensation, correct?
That is correct.
The most recent example where this issue came to light was in the Potomac Edison rate case, case number 9490, where a final order issued in 2019. Are you familiar with that case?
Not familiar with that case.
Okay.
But your statement is correct. Financial, when it's related to financial goals, it is adjusted. That is correct.
Thank you. And if I could just walk you through that order quickly, I have a couple quick questions. So I've marked that for identification only as OPC Exhibit 14. If you could take a look at that order for me. Do you have that order? What was marked? Did your counsel provide you that, Mr. Patterson?
No, I don't have it with me.
Okay.
I apologize. I did not provide that to him. Would you be able to read him the relevant portion?
I could, but I think it would probably be best if he had it in front of him. That way he can follow along. Is it possible, Ms. Garofalo, for you to email the order with, and just, Your Honor, if I may suggest, the way this issue has been handled in past evidentiary proceedings by Chairman Stanek, which makes sense to me, is that when counsel has to give something to a witness in these virtual hearings in the middle, while the witness is on the stand, it's typically the counsel's been instructed to just send the exhibit with no narrative in the email and to copy the judge.
Another correct.
Counsel. So could we handle it that way?
Yes, please.
So I have emailed Mr. Patterson I just forwarded him the email, forwarded to him the email that you sent to counsel, Mr. Cleaver. So there are several exhibits attached, and if you could just tell him which number you're looking at.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garofalo. Mr. Patterson, I wanted to just quickly go through a portion of what's been marked as OPC Exhibit 14 with you.
Okay.
Okay. Let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
Okay. Well, Mr. Patterson, you can see that according to the first page of what's been marked as OPC Exhibit 14, this is order number 89072 of the Maryland Public Service Commission, issued in case number 9490. As you can see from the caption, that docket concerns an application from Potomac Edison Company to adjust its retail rates for electric energy distribution. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the first page, you can see that this case was decided by a panel of 3 commissioners, Commissioner Mindy Herman, Commissioner Michael Richard, and Commissioner Anthony O'Donnell. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And this order issued on March 22nd, 2019. See that?
Yes, I do.
All right, Mr. Patterson, if I could ask you to go down to page 39 of this order.
Yes.
And on page 39, there's a section there. It's section number 9, and it's entitled Adjustment Incentive Compensation. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And the order describes OPC's position in the case. And specifically, I'm looking at the first sentence. Mr. Efren, the witness for OPC, testified that the Commission's general approach regarding the recovery of incentive compensation from ratepayers is the company should only be allowed to recover non-financial related goal expenses to the extent they can demonstrate that such expenses provide benefits to ratepayers. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and then after providing more detail as to the percentages that OPC witness Efren recommended be disallowed, if you go down a little bit more, you can see staff's position beginning on the bottom of page 39. Do you see that?
I do.
And there it says that noting that the Commission has historically removed incentive compensation from the cost of service when the goals are tied primarily to achieving financial success, staff recommended removing the costs related to short and long-term incentive compensation that are related to achieving Potomac Edison's financial goals. Did I read that correctly?
That's correct.
And then there's a description of Potomac Edison's opposition to these adjustments. And then you get down in the middle of page 40 to the section that says Commission decision on this issue. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And at the very at the last sentence of that decision paragraph, the Commission states that given that staff's adjustment most accurately reflected Commission policy on this issue, the Commission adopts staff's adjustment. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You don't disagree with the Commission in this order that removing both short-term and long-term incentive compensation to the extent it's related to achieving the company's financial goals. You don't disagree with the Commission that that's the Commission policy, do you?
No, actually, staff doesn't oppose OPC's adjustment to short-term incentive awards. We don't oppose your adjustment.
Okay, very good. Mr. Patterson, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Those are all the questions. And Your Honor, OPC Exhibit 14 was marked for identification only, so no motion to move that into the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Staff has no redirect, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson, I just had a couple of questions. Let me go back to your rebuttal. With regard to the company's treatment of Stride capital costs, staff, I believe, was opposed to accruing that it should be treated differently and not accrue AFUDC. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that a new, has Columbia always had that practice, or is that a change to how they treated that before?
I believe Columbia's always had that practice. However, what the staff is trying to do at this point is trying to get them in line with the other two companies, which is WGL and BGE. They don't accrue AFUDC within their Stride. What happens there is by accruing AFUDC in Columbia Stride, it does make the ratepayer pay a little bit more money at the end of the Stride cycle. So what we're trying to do now is trying to get all companies on the same basis, so they can do it all the same way.
Okay. And I just have one other question with regard to the 2.5% discount rate that Witness Spanos is recommending as to depreciation expense. Is 2.5% a reasonable estimate of inflation, in your opinion?
Estimate of inflation, it might be. I mean, the 2.5 he's been proposing that for the last 3 or 4 rate cases. So I would think that inflation may have changed since then. But maybe and maybe not. But it could be a good estimate.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions in light of my questions?
I have some, Your Honor, if there are no other questions.
Go ahead.
So, with regard to AFUDC, might there be a reason why this has not come before the commission before?
Yes, it was in the last rate case, but because the case was settled, it wasn't fully vetted. But we did bring it up in prior cases.
And if you know, does Columbia frequently settle its base rate cases?
Normally they do.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson, you're not an economist, are you?
No, ma'am, I am not.
So as part of your job, you wouldn't be speculating as to the proper cost of inflation, would you?
No, ma'am, I could not.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. If there's no other questions for Mr. Patterson, he can be excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if I may, Kenneth Albert on behalf of staff, we would like to present our next witness, Olivia Kirkendall.
Yes, good morning, Ms. Kirkendall. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Could you just say and spell your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Olivia Kirkendall. First name spelled Olivia. Last name spelled Kuykendall.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can I present the witness?
Please
Thank you.
proceed.
Ms. Kirkendall, could you explain your job responsibilities at the commission?
I am a regulatory analyst with the Telecommunications, Gas, and Water Division.
And did you prepare direct testimony that was filed on July 26th in this proceeding?
Yes.
And did you prepare rebuttal testimony that was filed on August 16th in this proceeding?
Yes.
And did you prepare surrebuttal testimony that was filed on September 2nd in this proceeding?
Yes.
Do you have any revisions to that testimony?
I have one revision to my direct testimony on page 22, line 1. There is a typographical error. At the end of that first line, it says CAPM, CAPM. It should say DCF.
Okay, with that one correction, then there are no other revisions to your testimony.
Correct.
Your Honor, we would ask that Ms. Kirkendall's direct testimony be marked as Staff Exhibit 5,
So marked.
that Ms. Kirkendall's rebuttal testimony be marked as Staff Exhibit 6,
So marked.
and Ms. Kirkendall's surrebuttal testimony be marked as Staff Exhibit 7.
So marked.
And we would ask then to move each of those 3 sets of testimony into the record, please.
Is there any objection to staff's exhibit 5, 6, and 7 from the company? Indicating no. And from OPC?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Staff's exhibit 5, 6, and 7 will be admitted to the record.
And with that, we would present Ms. Kirkendall for cross-examination.
Thank you. For Columbia, cross-examination.
No questions for Ms. Kirkendall.
Okay, thank you. From OPC?
Good afternoon, Ms. Kirkendall. No questions from OPC. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions either.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Michelle.
Your Honor, staff would like to call staff witness Ms. Zhang, please.
Good morning or good afternoon, Ms. Zhang. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Could you just state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Nan Zhang, N-A-N-Z-H-A-N-G.
Thank you.
Ms. Zhang, by whom are you employed and in what division?
I'm employed by Maryland Public Service Commission, Energy Analysis and Planning Division.
Please continue, Ms. Zhang.
My business address is 6 St. Paul Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202.
Do you have before you a document titled Direct Testimony of Nan Zhang on behalf of the staff of the Public Service Commission of Maryland, dated July 26, 2021, and exhibit NZ-1, NZ-2, NZ-3, NZ-4, NZ-5, NZ-6, NZ-7, and NZ-8, consisting of 27 pages?
Yes.
Were each of these documents written by you or prepared under your supervision?
Yes.
Do you have any changes or corrections to this document?
No. However, I would like the record to reflect a correction. My direct testimony, page 15, footnote 31. I mistakenly stated that in case number 9417, NCP methodology was adopted. Case number 9417 was in fact settled.
If you were asked the same questions in your testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask to have the direct testimony marked for identification as Staff Exhibit 8.
So marked.
Do you have before you a document titled Rebuttal Testimony of Nan Zhang on behalf of the staff of the Public Service Commission of Maryland, dated August 16th, 2021, consisting of 8 pages?
Yes.
Was this document written by you or prepared under your supervision?
Yes.
Do you have any changes to this document?
No.
If you were asked the same questions in your testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask to have the rebuttal testimony marked for identification as Staff Exhibit Number 9.
So marked.
Do you have before you a document titled Sir Rebuttal Testimony and Exhibit of Nan Zhang on behalf of the staff of Public Service Commission of Maryland, dated September 2nd, 2021, and Exhibit NZ-1, consisting of 28 pages?
Yes.
Was this document written by you or prepared under your supervision?
Yes.
Do you have any changes or corrections to this document?
No.
If you were asked the same questions in your testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask to have the Sir Rebuttal Testimony marked for identification as Staff Exhibit 10.
So marked.
Taken together, do these documents constitute your pre-filed testimony in this proceeding?
Yes.
Your Honor, staff would like to move Staff Exhibits 8, 9, and 10 into the administrative record of this proceeding.
Is there any objection?
No objections.
No objection. No objection.
Thank you. Thank you. Staff's Exhibits 8, 9, and 10 will be moved into the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Staff witness Zhang is now available for cross-examination.
Columbia, you have cross-examination for this witness.
No questions, Your Honor.
OPC?
Hello, Ms. Zhang. No questions from OPC, Your Honor. Thank you.
I had one question, Ms. Zhang. The jurisdictional cost of service study that you were requesting of the company, is that still staff's position that you're making that recommendation?
Could you restate your question, please?
In your Sir Rebuttal testimony, you recommend that the commission should order a jurisdictional cost of service study for the company in its next base rate case. Is that still staff's position?
Yes.
I guess my question is there a reason to believe that Columbia Gas provides service to other jurisdictions other than Maryland?
Yes, I believe Columbia Gas also provides service in Pennsylvania.
And what's the basis of that belief, if I can ask?
Columbia provided about 20 bases to allocate the jurisdictional costs.
Is there any other jurisdiction besides Maryland, besides Pennsylvania?
I don't remember. Maybe Delaware.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Zhang. Is there any questions in light of my questions of Ms. Zhang?
Yes, Your Honor. Megan Moore on behalf of the company. The company and staff stipulated to what was entered into the record as Joint Hearing Exhibit 1. And in that, we stipulated to what the company would provide in the next base rate case with regard to these allocations and direct billing that are coming from NCSC to CMD. And so the company was under the impression that that settled or served to button up this issue.
That was what I was trying to clarify. Can anybody provide any more clarity? Staff, council?
Yes. Can I present a question to witnessing?
Go ahead.
Staff's request for that information in your testimony was to better understand not Columbia's surcharge, but their shared company costs, correct?
Yes, correct.
And those shared company costs are with Columbia and its other companies that are owned by NiSource, correct?
Yes, correct.
Does that clarify your understanding of the request for the J costs, Your Honor?
My question, I guess, is the joint exhibit that was entered into the record as Exhibit 1, does that resolve staff's request for a jurisdictional cost of study in the next rate case? Or is that still a request of staff? My understanding was that that information was provided by the company. Is it still a request of staff to have the jurisdictional cost of study done for the next base rate case?
Your Honor, staff witness, we have stipulated that Columbia will provide this J cost with that information at the beginning of this hearing.
Your Honor, if I may, I'm not sure if it's appropriate here, but so the company is in the stipulation, set out all of the detailed information that it hopes to provide to satisfy the concerns of staff when staff was saying that it would like the company to produce the J costs. The company is providing that information as whatever sort of information that the staff is seeking to satisfy that concern. Is staff going back on the stipulation now? I'm now very confused.
As am I. So I'm just trying to clarify that. It wasn't clear from Ms. Zhang whether or not that information was satisfied that request.
Yes.
So Ms. Zhang, the information that was provided by Columbia was what staff was seeking, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zhang. Is there anything else for Ms. Zhang? You can be excused. Thank you. And staff, who's your next witness, Ms. Howard?
Your Honor, staff would like to call staff witness Ms. Howard, please. Good afternoon, Ms. Howard.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you. If you could just state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Afton, A-F-T-O-N, Hauer, H-A-U-E-R.
Thank you, Ms. Howard.
Ms. Howard, by whom are you employed and in what division?
I'm employed by the Maryland Public Service Commission as a regulatory economist for the Telecommunications, Gas, and Water Division.
Do you have before you a document titled Direct Testimony of Afton Hauer on behalf of the staff of the Public Service Commission of Maryland, dated July 26, 2021, consisting of 35 pages and exhibits AH-1, AH-2, AH-3, AH-4, AH-5, AA-6, and AH-7?
Yes, I do.
Were these documents written by you or prepared under your supervision?
Yes.
Do you have any changes or corrections to these documents?
No.
If you were asked the same questions in your testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to have the direct testimony marked for staff identification as Exhibit 11, please.
So marked.
Do you have before you a document titled Sir Rebuttal Testimony and Exhibits of Afton Hauer on behalf of the staff of the Public Service Commission of Maryland, dated September 2nd, 2021, consisting of 25 pages and exhibits AH-1SR, AH-2SR, AH-3SR, AH-4SR, AH-5SR, and AH-6SR?
Yes.
Were these documents written by you or prepared under your supervision?
Yes.
Do you have any changes to these documents?
Yes. First, I would like to correct on page 14 of my Sir Rebuttal. Starting after footnote 19, footnote 24 should be changed to footnote 20, 21, and 22, and proceed to the footnotes on page 15 to read 23 and 24. Additionally, on page 7, table 6 has been corrected to show staff's proposed bill impacts. Staff filed an errata to the Sir Rebuttal reflecting corrections.
If you were asked the same questions in your testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask to have the Sir Rebuttal testimony marked for identification as Staff Exhibit 12.
So marked.
Taken together, do these documents constitute your pre-filed testimony in this proceeding?
Yes.
Your Honor, staff asked to move Staff Exhibits 11 and 12 into the administrative record of this proceeding.
Is there any objection to Ms. Hauer's testimony being admitted from the company?
No objection.
OPC?
No objection, Your Honor.
Staff's Exhibit 11 and 12 will be entered into the record.
Thank you. Your Honor, staff witness is now available for cross-examination.
Are there any questions from the company?
No questions, Your Honor.
OPC?
No questions, Your Honor. Hi, Ms. Howard. Thank you.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you, Ms. Howard.
Thank you.
Does that conclude staff's witnesses?
That does, Your Honor.
The next date would be September the 20th for updated exhibits that will be filed by Columbia with updated legal expenses for a rate case. And we are scheduled, if that is a contested issue, for a hearing on September 21st.
Yes, Your Honor, and on that same date, I believe staff will submit an updated position of the parties that will contain a number of the accounting issues that were discussed in the hearing and represent the parties' final positions.
Okay.
And Your Honor, if I may,
Please.
historically, in the last couple of cases, we've also used that hearing, even if these updated expenses were not contested. We've also used the this brief hearing just to reconcile and confirm that everyone is comfortable with the expense information that has been provided. So even if not contested, we've always used this as an opportunity to confirm final numbers.
Okay. So that will be scheduled for September the 21st at 10 a.m. Is that acceptable to the parties?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So I will send out a new WebEx invitation for Tuesday, September 21st at 10 a.m. and look for updated exhibits to be filed. And we will continue on Tuesday. Are there any other issues that we need to address?
Yes, Your Honor. Staff has one issue with regard to the brief. We would ask that the initial brief be allowed to be 70 pages, double space, typewritten. Comar is a little outdated in terms of how we do it. So I think that's why I'm explaining what I mean by 70 pages.
Okay, that's fine. Any other issues?
Your Honor, in connection with staff's request, we do not oppose the request. The existing briefing limits that are in the regulations, and Ms. Garofalo is correct. It's a little bit vague, but those have sufficed in the past for cases brought by Columbia. But we do not oppose if staff would wish to extend the page limit.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else before we finish for today? No? Okay. Thank you, everybody. We will adjourn for today and can go off the record, and we'll rejoin on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.